Okay, let's dive in. We're starting today with this really powerful and honestly maybe a little bit intimidating metaphor that kept popping up in the source material. It's this idea that the cave you're afraid to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Mm.
And that treasure, well, the research is pretty clear. It isn't gold or anything like that. It's something much, much more valuable. It's freedom. It's getting clear on your specific triggers.
Yeah.
You know, those deep fears, the beliefs that kind of limit you and keep you feeling stuck. The main idea seems to be we spend so much of our lives actively dodging the very insights that could actually set us free.
Right, and that internal resistance, that's exactly what we're exploring today. Our mission really is to see how journaling, and we mean focused, structured journaling, not just, Dear Diary stuff, how that provides a pretty direct path into that intimidating cave.
So not just writing down what happened yesterday.
No, not at all. It's more like self-interrogation. A key point in the material is that most of us, well, we think we know ourselves pretty well. We operate under this comfortable idea, this illusion almost. But it's usually only when we actually sit down, put pen to paper and start asking the tougher questions, the uncomfortable ones. That's when we realize just how much of our internal operating system is basically running on autopilot.
Ah, okay.
So this practice, journaling in this specific way, it's presented as, well, maybe one of the most important routines you can build for personal growth, spiritual development, improving relationships, and just fundamentally becoming a more self-aware, maybe more effective human being.
Okay, so why is this routine so necessary then? Why can't we just think our way through this stuff, just internal reflection?
Yeah, good question. It really comes down to our cognitive limits, our working memory, basically. When thoughts just stay inside your head, they're kind of messy. They exist all at once, unstructured, complex. Your internal world isn't like a neat filing system. It's more like a dense, chaotic mix of unprocessed stuff.
And that's where the stacking comes in, right? Like the source is mentioned.
Exactly.
One thought pops up, maybe, I need to call the bank.
Right.
But then, bam, an emotion stacks on it. Oof. I hate calling the bank. They always make me feel kind of dumb. And then maybe a related fear stacks on that. Oh, this reminds me of that time I completely messed up my taxes. And suddenly you're not dealing with one simple task. You're trying to wrestle with 4 different emotional and historical problems all tangled together.
Precisely. And that's just one simple example. That's before you even factor in all the other noise of daily life. I mean, this internal state, it includes everything you did today, all your goals, your fears, past stuff. And this is crucial, the different ways you act or feel around different people, the different characters you play.
Yeah.
It's this incredibly interconnected, complicated system.
Honestly, it just sounds exhausting. Like trying to stir this giant pot of, emotional soup and figure out what single ingredient is making you feel bad. You can't isolate anything because it's all mixed up.
And that's the point. Problem solving needs precision. The sources really hammer this home. But you can't get precise when you've got this complex blend of feelings, thoughts, and all the stories and narratives wrapped around them all just swirling inside.
Right.
Think about it like a complicated math problem, say 254 times 439.
Okay, definitely can't do that in my head.
Exactly. Very few people could, right? Because you'd lose track of the intermediate steps. It's too much to hold mentally. But the second you grab a pen and paper...
Easy. Well, easier.
Right. You externalize the steps, you see the parts, you follow a linear process, it becomes manageable. Journaling, in this sense, is like the pen and paper for the really complex emotional math of your life.
That analogy works really well.
Yeah.
It leads us straight to the next point, which is the power of the medium itself. The sources are pretty insistent on the physical act of writing, not just thinking, and, interestingly, not just typing either.
Absolutely. There's research mentioned suggesting that, 65% to 70% of people are primarily visual learners?
A big chunk.
Yeah, a huge chunk. So when you actually write something down, you're taking that abstract, kind of shapeless thought and giving it a physical form. You can see it. You're basically taking the internal mess and putting it out where you can look at it.
And that visual aspect is key for understanding, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing those tangled thoughts written out helps you grasp what's really going on.
Yeah.
Maybe, more importantly, helps you spot connections, connect the dots between different bits of information that you just couldn't see when they were floating around inside.
Uh-huh. That externalization, seeing it laid out, that's where the awareness really starts to click. There's this great anecdote in one of the sources about someone who, tried journaling for years, maybe a decade, and failed.
Because they were doing the Dear Diary thing.
Exactly, just reporting the day's events. Then they had this breakthrough. They were sitting in a park, Zilker Park in Austin, it mentions specifically, and instead of just reporting, they started interrogating their own experience. They made themselves write down these really deep, sometimes painful questions.
Like what?
Stuff like, why do I feel so anxious all the time? Or what exactly am I running away from? Really digging in.
Wow. And what happened when they did that? What was the shift?
Well, the person realized that just the act of writing the question down and then forcing themselves to write an answer, even if it took a while, like a couple of hours just focused on that, it broke the old pattern. They started noticing actual objective links. Things like, my anxiety always seems to spike after I talk to that specific person.
Pattern recognition.
Yes. Or my ability to focus really tanks when I drink more coffee. They moved from this vague sense of suffering to actionable awareness. And that shift apparently completely changed their whole approach to personal development.
Okay, and let's double down on the method here, the pen and paper part.
Yeah.
Because the sources were really specific about this. It's not just a preference thing.
No, it seems to be neurological. The studies they point to emphasize writing with pen and paper, the slower physical act. Sometimes they call it slow writing. It's different from typing. Well, it engages your fine motor skills, different parts of your brain simultaneously. Apparently, this creates new neural connections, this idea of embodied cognition. Your body and mind working together to form the letters. It significantly improves your ability to recall things, boosts creativity, and, maybe most relevant here, it dramatically increases your ability to connect those dots, to see patterns you missed before.
So typing is okay, it's convenient, sure. But if you really want that deep dive, that restructuring of thought.
The argument is that the physical act of slowing down using ink, that's the better path. You lose some of that neurological edge when you just type quickly. The goal here is depth, not speed.
Right, depth over speed.
Okay.
So we've got the problem, that chaotic internal mess. We've got the tool, pen and paper, ideally. Now the method, the actual technique, it's summarized as approaching yourself with, like, radical curiosity, almost like you're meeting yourself for the first time.
Exactly. It's called the curious therapist approach. Imagine you're a therapist, maybe a psychoanalyst. Your client, who is actually you, has just laid down on the couch talking about feeling kind of distressed, but vaguely.
Okay.
What does a good therapist do? They rarely just make statements or give advice right away.
They ask questions.
Right. They ask these really precise, clarifying questions. The goal is to help the client figure themselves out.
So that's your job when journaling.
Yeah.
Suspend your assumptions, don't think you already know the answer, and just ask the next logical question.
That's it. And there are basically 3 core rules for doing this effectively. Rule 1, be genuinely curious. Don't pretend you've met yourself before. Rule 2, frame your questions using who, what, why, when, where, or how. Those are the interrogative words that really open things up.
The classic open-ended question.
Exactly. But rule 3, this is the crucial part. This is what separates real self-discovery from just like making a list of complaints. The secret is, don't jump to a totally new topic after you write down an answer. Instead, you have to ask a new question specifically about the answer you just wrote.
Okay. Stick with the thread.
Yes. You have to commit to going below the surface, then below that surface, and maybe even below that one. Keep drilling down on the same point.
Let's walk through that anxiety example from the slices, because seeing this iterative questioning in action really clarifies it.
Okay. So, level 1 question. Why do I feel anxious right now? Pretty standard starting point. Your level 1 answer might be something surface level, but honest, like I'm worried about a big presentation I have to give at work next week.
Okay, makes sense. Now, the instinct might be to jump to something else, like, why do I hate presentations? Or my boss is putting too much pressure on me. But using this method, we stick with the answer about the presentation anxiety. Level 2 question, what specific thing can I do right now to lower my anxiety about that presentation?
See the shift. It immediately moves from just identifying the feeling I am anxious to finding a way to mitigate it. What can I do about it?
Yeah, it's instantly more proactive.
Right. And the level 2 answer that might come out could be, okay, first, I can stop and do a 5-minute breathing exercise. Then I'll review just the first 5 slides. And after that, I'll practice reading the introduction out loud, say, 3 times.
And just like that, you've gone from this paralyzing, vague feeling of dread to a clear, concrete 3-step plan. And that plan itself starts to dissolve the anxiety just because you forced yourself to get specific.
Exactly. And the same process works wonders for those really complex interpersonal things, too, where we often get stuck just blaming others or feeling helpless.
Ah.
Let's take the relationship example about safety. Level 1 question, what do I really want in my love life? A common level 1 answer might be, I'd like to find somebody I could just feel safe around. That's a deep need for a lot of people.
Okay. Now, the usual reaction might be to start swiping on dating apps, looking for that safe person.
Uh-huh. But the curious therapist approach turns that inward first. It prompts a deeper question like, why don't I feel safe right now, just in my own body, in my own life? Or maybe, do I actually need another person to create that feeling of safety for me? What steps could I take to give myself the security I'm looking for externally?
Wow. That's a huge pivot. It shifts the focus from finding someone else to, well, internal work.
It's potentially revolutionary, yeah. Because suddenly the power is back with you and you've got a whole new line of inquiry opened up, all stemming from that initial answer about wanting safety.
Okay, let's try the other relationship example mentioned, the one about respect. Say the level 1 answer to what's causing conflict is, I just want my spouse to respect me more.
Right. Again, instead of launching into blame, the next question tries to define the problem more precisely. Level 2 question. Okay, where specifically do they respect me and where exactly do I feel they don't?
And because you're writing it, forcing yourself to be specific, the answer that comes out might be surprisingly nuanced. Like, actually, they respect me quite a bit around friends and family, but I don't feel respected when it comes to this new business I'm trying to start. They kind of talk down about the whole idea.
See? No, it's not this huge, vague, they don't respect me catastrophe. It's a much more specific surgical problem area.
Much more manageable.
So you drill down again. Level 3. Question. What's one actionable thing I can do to start getting their respect specifically regarding my business? And the answer becomes concrete. Okay, I'll schedule a calm conversation about feeling unsupported. And I'll ask for, say, 2 specific things, like maybe asking them to review my pitch deck once a month or just to stop making negative comments about it.
And that entire journey from a vague feeling of disrespect to a clear communication strategy, it all happened right there on the notepad. That really shows why this is such a powerful routine.
It really does. It functions almost like a free, ongoing therapy session with yourself. You're forcing yourself to understand that huge chunk of your mind, the 95% subconscious that's usually running the show. You know, the patterns, the triggers, the stories. You understand it way better than the conscious 5% usually can.
And we should probably clarify that 955 split is more of a useful concept from the sources for understanding the subconscious, not necessarily a precise scientific measurement.
Oh, absolutely. It's a model to grasp the scale, yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, there's one more big hurdle we need to talk about. It stops a lot of people from going deep with this. It's the fear of discovery, that worry. What if my partner or my mom or someone finds this journal and reads what I really wrote about them?
Yeah, that's a valid fear. But the sources are very clear that fear cannot be the reason you don't go deep. It can't stop you. The whole point, the objective, is gaining the awareness and figuring out the plan. It's not about preserving the physical paper.
The paper is disposable.
Exactly. The self-awareness, that's the treasure you're digging for.
So the practical solution they offer is pretty straightforward, almost rebellious.
Yeah. Don't let the fear stop you from exploring those dark corners of the cave. Get the information out of your head and onto the paper. And then you can hide it, like you did with stuff when you were 13. Or if the content feels really sensitive, maybe a raw admission about a tough emotion or a painful memory, you have total permission, even encouragement, to just rip it up, burn it, throw it away right after you write it.
Seriously.
Seriously, the benefit comes from the cognitive processing, the act of writing and thinking it through, not from creating some archive of your deepest vulnerabilities.
Okay, that's actually really freeing. The pressure to keep it is gone.
It should be. The goal is insight, not archiving.
All right, so let's just nail down the routine. How do people actually do this curious therapist method day to day?
The recommendation is pretty simple. Just 10 minutes every morning, make it consistent. In those 10 minutes, just ask yourself maybe 2 or 3 of those who, what, why, where, when, or how questions, and really commit to drilling down on at least one of the answers until you get to that level 2 or maybe even level 3 insight, that deeper layer.
2 or 3 questions, drill down, 10 minutes.
Got it. And then, one last thing. For building positive momentum, there's a final question the sources suggest asking every single day. It should be the last question you ask yourself in that session.
Okay.
What can I do to make today amazing?
So after the digging, you end on a positive, forward-looking action.
Exactly. It helps synthesize whatever you learned about yourself and anchors it back into creating a good day ahead.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really frames journaling not as a passive activity, but as this really structured, conscious effort. You're essentially mapping out that huge subconscious territory, the triggers, the stories, the pattern stuff. Your conscious mind usually just skims over. You're doing the work, basically, of bringing the darkness into the light so it doesn't have so much power over you anymore.
Well said. And that light, that awareness, it needs immediate application to be truly useful. Think about it this way. If you woke up today feeling, I don't know, vaguely happy or maybe vaguely grumpy or irritable, could you right now use that layering technique? Ask yourself, why exactly do I feel so happy grumpy today?
And try to pinpoint the specific input.
Yes. Use the tool. Identify what led to that feeling. Was it genuinely good sleep? Was it that nice moment you had with your kids this morning? Or if it's negative, maybe it's something carrying over from that annoying email you read late last night. Once you identify the input, you gain the power to make a deliberate choice tomorrow. You can try to replicate the good inputs and avoid or mitigate the bad ones.
The power really is in asking better questions of yourself.
It absolutely is. So maybe the challenge for everyone listening is take those 10 minutes today. Seriously. Grab a pen. Grab some paper, not your phone, not your laptop, pen and paper, and ask yourself that one big, broad question you mentioned from the sources. What do I want?
Get that.
Start with that. Write down whatever answer bubbles up first. And then this is key. Take another 30 seconds and ask one follow-up question just about that answer. That's it. That's the first step. That's you stepping consciously into the cave to find your treasure.